What's good, my beautiful African family? It's your man, Tej Wilson with the African Diaspora News Channel, and Ghana done up and said it. They said we want reparations for the whole black family for the entire crime of slavery at the CELAC convention in Bogota, Colombia. And let me tell you something. Say what you want about African leaders, African countries, and how they treat the diaspora. But Ghana, I counted them toes. All 10 of them was down. I said I counted all them toes, all 10 of them was down. For when it came to Black Americans specifically, they pioneered programs for repatriation. They gave out land. I've been to Ghana. They got nothing but love for Black Americans. So other countries, I don't know about them, but Ghana, whoo, they about us. And they're about the diaspora. They're about making sure that there was justice, at least speaking out. That's a tradition that's been set forth since Kwame Nkrumah. So it don't surprise me at the convention, man, they was like, we want reparations for all of it. All of it. Check out what the president of Ghana had to say at CELAC.
It is time to acknowledge openly that much of Europe and the United States have been built from the vast wealth harvested from the sweat, tears, blood, and horrors of the transatlantic slave trade and the centuries of colonial exploitation. Maybe we should also admit that it cannot be easy to build confident and prosperous societies from nations that for centuries have their natural resources looted and their peoples traded as commodities. For centuries, the world has been unwilling and unable to confront the realities of the consequences of the slave trade. But gradually, this is changing, and it is time to bring the subject of reparations firmly to the fore.
See, when he said that the world has had trouble acknowledging the crime of slavery and what was built from it, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're not the world. They're not the world. When you look at the population of the Western countries and those who have had trouble kind of acknowledging their role in our suffering, when you look at how many people, if you count them up, who that world is, they're not the world. They are now a increasing minority. We are the global majority, and we're obtaining global power. These allegiances that are being formed right now have the power to shift the entire world order, right? You look at the BRICS alliance, when you look at what's happening with these connections that are being forged between Africa and the Latino world. By the way, there's a reason why this was in Colombia. They really actually trying to do Black and Latino unity here, right? Because they got their own crime, the crime of genocide that was done to colonize them. That's why they speak Spanish in the first place, right? And so there is a unification of the folks who had been under the boot heel of colonialism. And this is just one of those things that is a symptom of that. And the more that the Western world denies it, the stronger the cries grow. And I think it's apt. It's appropriate because of the fact that you really can't deal in integrity with people that you've harmed and not repaired. I am so happy that the cry of reparations is growing across the diaspora. I'm so happy that Black Americans have been the loudest about that, because it's like trying to go forward in a Monopoly game when you over here 10 laps behind and ain't only got a tenth of the resources as your competitors. It's not going to work. So if you want to deal in justice with folks, you got to deal with economic justice as well. And that's what they call for. Check out what the article says. Now, mind you, Ghana's push for reparations has been backed by the president of Brazil. And as you know, that carries some weight because Brazil is the B in the BRICS Alliance acronym. So here's what it says on gov.brazil. The president of the Republic of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, participated on Saturday, March 21st, in the first high-level CELAC Africa Forum held in Bogota, the capital of Colombia. On the occasion, Lula emphasized the importance of sovereignty for Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa. For the president, it is essential to prevent the erosion of multilateralism in these regions. Quote, "We are no longer colonized countries. We achieve sovereignty through our independence. We cannot allow anyone to interfere with or violate the territorial integrity of each country," Lula said. Now, if you don't know about Lula da Silva, he is the one who is the more liberal candidate that barely won presidency when the last president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, tried to pull a Trump. He tried to say the election was stolen. He literally took his marching cues from Trump. And unlike here in America, he actually arrested Bolsonaro right? And that man been charged and convicted. So we got somebody who actually stands on business. Like Lula da Silva, he's the one who's now protecting the Amazon rainforest. He's changing the economic structure so that they're not incentivized to cut down the actual forest that is like the lungs of the planet, right? And he's also very multilateral and kind of like Che Guevara, he's got a strong affinity for the African continent and understands the internationalism that the Black Panthers understood. You know what I'm saying? That this is a coordinated fight. And so those who say that Black and Latino unity ain't real, y'all gonna have to take a look at the CLAC forum, because we're seeing this engaged in a very, very, very high level, and we're gonna have to get on board. And just to show that Lula is serious, he actually acknowledged something that I did not expect him to acknowledge, which was Brazil's debt to Africa. Check this out, because this kind of shocked me. Here's what he said. At the first CLAC Africa high-level forum, the president also emphasized that the moment strengthens debates that recognize historical reparations as a priority in line with the African Union's position. Quote, despite having implemented several public policies on racial equality, such as the quota laws, Brazil is still far from repaying its debt to Africa for 350 years of slavery. Confronting together the colonial legacy is the best tribute we can pay to our shared history, President Lula said. Now, as you know, the Portuguese, it was the Portuguese who were the pioneers of the slave trade. In fact, you have it where you have Africans arriving in Brazil almost a century, maybe a little more, than when they arrived in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. The Portuguese were at it actually before the English were. In fact, Sir John Hawkins, who was the actual one who got England involved in the slave trade long before there was the colonies of America, stole the first 300 Africans that landed in Jamestown, Virginia from a Portuguese vessel. They were probably on their way to Brazil. So listen, Brazil got mad problems racially. I'm going to just keep it a buck with you, because there is mad anti-Blackness there. But as we know, the tone is set from the top, right? And it takes time to make these changes. But the fact that a Latin American country acknowledged their debt to Africa, acknowledged that they got a debt to Black labor, and acknowledged this multiple centuries that it happened, is something that I hope carries on beyond his personal presidency, because it's going to take a long time to fix that. And he is the one who's setting the tone. So check that out. Here's my thing. With Donald Trump doing what he's doing, the BRICS alliance is gaining power. Like, he is literally destroying the American empire. And I think that it's time for us to start looking at the trajectory of where our allegiances should lie, right? Because, as y'all know, I've been standing up for reparations for well over a decade. It's actually what first built my platform. It's the first time I went viral, right? And I started to realize that folks who are actively incarcerating you, Jim Crowing you, redlining you, killing you extraditionally in the street via police violence is not really at the mindset to pay you reparations. My homeboy was like, yo, you can steal reparations, but I don't know if they're going to give you reparations. And I think that that is a really key point. Reparations have to be leveraged. Do you understand what I mean? They have to be forced. They have to be to a situation where, like, you hold your knee in somebody's back and take it out of their hands. That's how Nazi Germany paid reparations to the Jews from the Holocaust, right? It wasn't because Germany grew a conscience. They wouldn't have grown their conscience if they had won, for example. So strength in numbers, safety in numbers. This is a numbers game, right? Everybody who's a smart warrior knows that allegiances must be formed, especially when you are outnumbered on a certain battlefield. Let's say if you look at America, right? We are 50 million Black folks here strong, but globally, we are the majority. And if you create global alliances that are creating power, economic leverage that is beyond the control of the West, who denies you reparations, that might be the way to go. I'm just saying, internationalism, when it comes to reparations, works. We saw that with the Japanese. Americans who were in the concentration camps here in America, they didn't get reparations after the bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. No. Japanese Americans got reparations when Japan was powerful in the 80s, right? I said this before, I'll say it again. When Italian Americans was lynched in Louisiana, the Italian Americans got reparations because Italy was powerful, right? International leverage, exerting power beyond the control of those who would seek to deny you that power, is the reason why they thought Malcolm X was so dangerous, because he was taking our plea for reparations before the United Nations when it still had more power than it does now. And that is what made him dangerous. International leverage and forming allegiances to create strength in numbers just might be the way to go. I need y'all to consider that, right? Because if our problem as Black folks in America didn't begin with one country, it was a triangular trade between different countries and continents, what makes us think that they'll simply end here? That's just my thoughts on it. I would love to hear yours in the comment section. I read them, though I don't always comment back, but this is the African Diaspora News channel. A lot of y'all forget that. Y'all just want it to be about your particular tribe. No, this is the Diaspora News channel. We give you the news from all across the world, from the whole Black family, globally speaking, right? So if you like what you see here and you believe that our content is valuable, I need y'all to go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. If you stayed this long, go ahead and hit subscribe. You owe us at least that much. It don't cost you nothing, right? Like the video so we get boosted in the algorithm. But more than that, we need you to download that app. We're moving a lot of stuff to the app coming up soon. You're going to get it there before you get it on YouTube. So download that app. And if you like what I say and how I say it, go ahead and follow my personal channel at Theo Cyrus Rising right here on YouTube. It's your boy Theo E.J. Wilson, a.k.a. Brother Tej. I'll see you next time. Well, I saw you this time. Peace.